It is Malcolm X's birthday, May 19th. And, my father was so radical that I used to be able to take May 19th off from school when I was a kid. Can we just, let's just have a quick moment of silence for our brothers and sisters in Buffalo, because I think that it's apropos and it fits in with this event. So let's just do a quick moment of silence for them. Thank you. I'm going to be brief and get out of the way because you have descendants that are here. I'll be a descendant from Malcolm X. I'll tell you a story. My father, who was involved in the Black liberation struggle, he was a little different than I was. He wanted to name me Malcolm, but his twin brother beat him to it, so he named me after Malcolm X. After Malcolm X took his pilgrimage to Mecca, he changed his name to El Hajj Malik El Shabazz, and that's how I got the name Malik. But I'm grateful to be here to be able to say thank you to Dr. Nelms. I want to acknowledge our other elected officials, County Legislature President Sabrina Lamar, City Council member from the South District, Lachey Harris. I thought I saw Commissioner Patterson from the Rochester City School District, and any other elected officials that may be here. I want to thank you for coming to this. But I also want to acknowledge the Florence and Mitchell families. And I'm blessed because I got to know Constance Mitchell, who is a giant in this community. I want you to think about an African-American woman being elected to the Board of Supervisors way back when. I mean, that deserves a round of applause. Think about that. Now, I would say to Dr. Sabrina Lamar, there'd be no Dr. Sabrina Lamar if there wasn't a Constance Mitchell. There would have been no Lovely Warren if there was not a Constance Mitchell. There would not have been no Ruth Scott if there wasn't a Constance Mitchell. This is someone that blazed a trail, and someone who was just always so elegant, and just knowledgeable about helping others as she continued to mentor folks. I remember when I first got elected to the school board at 23, very supportive in keeping things forward. And then, I had the opportunity of knowing, he's still with us, and we're blessed for that, Minister Franklin Florence. And I wish that this man could sit on a stool in the middle of a field and talk to some of these young bucks. Because let me tell you something, they didn't have Facebook and social media and all that other stuff. There's a gospel song that says, "Let the work I live speak for me." His work spoke for him. He wasn't on social media talking about all the things that he was going to do. He did it. And there are hundreds of thousands of African Americans that work for Kodak, that work for Xerox, that would not have happened had it not been for that man. And that's right. That needs to be understood. And he didn't talk about it. He was about it. When my father came to Rochester, he became a part of the fight organization. That was because of the hard work of Minister Florence. And now his granddaughter, his son, are continuing that commitment. That mural is important, not just as a symbol that is up there hanging on that building, but it needs to be something that we explain and talk to people about. And then I just want to say something lastly about the artist. Where is he? This brother, yeah, give him a standing ovation. Give him a standing ovation. He deserves that standing ovation. I mean, Ephraim, first off, originally from Eritrea, right? But yet the brother understands the history that is so important in the city of Rochester. And then not only that, the fact that he still remembers to come back to Rochester to help. And I think about him every morning because by City Hall is the John Lewis painting. So he understands the importance of that history and that we have to tell the story of those that came before us, because if we don't tell it, who else will? Who else will? And that art stands as a constant reminder to the students that are here to learn and honor the folks that have come before us. So I am just so grateful to be here. I'm going to sit down and get out of the way because I think that the family members really can say it so much better than I ever will. And like I said, I could go on and on about all these folks because I knew them all. And in fact, to get ready for this, I'm sure there's some others in Rochester, but I actually have a tape that my father gave me of Malcolm X's last speech at Cornhill Methodist Church that he gave here in Rochester. I have it. I'm not giving anybody copies, but I have that speech, and I had it converted to CD. I have that speech, and I'm so honored to be able to have that. And in Malcolm X, he said, education is the passport to the future, and the future belongs to those who have it. So, Mr. Nelms, I hope that you will make sure that your students learn about this, about the individuals that are there. I am so grateful for everyone being here today, and I want to thank the family members for sharing your family with us. And then also, before I take my seat, let me give a shout out also to Erica Bryant. Erica, man, you're a good fundraiser. The city of Rochester was proud to contribute $10,000 to this, and I know that many other people did as well. Erica, great work in terms of pulling this all together, and we are so eternally grateful. And it's my honor now to be able to introduce Minister Clifford Florence, the son of Franklin Florence. Minister Florence.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to try that again. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
All right. First of all, we want to thank all of you for gathering to give an honor to my father. And I just want to say on his behalf that my father and mother really wanted to be here today. But they wanted to say thank you for everyone that made this possible. Also, it was the community supporting my father to accomplish the many things for good that helped black people, but not only helping black people, but it helped all people to have a better quality of life. I want to say to Mr. Nelms and to this great artist and his team that worked so untiringly to come out with a great mural. Can we just give an applause for all the work, sacrifice that is being done. I want to take my seat, but I also want to say to Constance that we also want to give the proper honor and respect for the work that your mother and father did to make this community better, and that you continued that work. And I just want to encourage us that there's a greater work that we must do than we're doing. And working together and starting at home, I believe charity begins at home and spreads abroad. And I really think as a black family, we're going to have to step in and step up and do the work that we need to do. And then also we need to come together as a community. We need to come and organize a movement that will make change, starting with the black family, because we know when black people are successful, everybody can be successful. Again, on behalf of my father and my mother and the Florence family, we want to say thank you for being here to celebrate with us. And if you run with God, God will run with you.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
This is not only a privilege and an honor, but I just find it a great joy, because when I look at this picture and I look at the only tattoo I have on my arm, it is a fist that my grandfather has on his hand, a ring. And on it, it says, fight like Franklin, be articulate as Malcolm, with the passion of Clifford. And when you think about what art stands for and how it speaks, even without words, and we think about education, we think about leadership. And leadership is more than someone standing before you. It is the silent teacher that we are taught when we teach, that is still teaching even when you are silent. So as we sit here today, We need to go back to our places and begin the conversation about who's here, why they are here, and what we need to do to carry the torch of leadership, because they've done their part. The question is, what are we now going to do? Are we just going to gaze at a picture admiring the greatness, or are we going to take and get on the shoulders of greatness and be even greater? Because that is the legacy of Malcolm X. That is the legacy of my father. That is the legacy of Miss Mitchell. And if we are truly ambassadors, then we need to be better, greater, louder, and speaking truth to power. Because if our children don't begin to have a voice, what are we going to do? So thank you all so much. We are so elated. And I am now going to introduce Miss Constance Mitchell Jefferson.
So I had to get a hand up because, you know, I'm a little bit too shy to say I got a bum knee. I am so honored to be here today to see this mural come to life. When the mural was done of John Lewis, I remember saying, that's nice. That should be my mom on that wall. And I have worked behind the scenes trying to get recognition for my mom repeatedly throughout her life, but in particularly in these last 4 years since she's been gone. So to see this mural today, it's very touching for me. And I had a lot of things that I wanted to say today, but I couldn't figure out how to say it. So those of you that know my mom know she wrote everything by longhand, every speech she ever made, every conversation that she wanted a note to somebody. She did it all instead of the typing on the computer or anything like that. She did it longhand. So today, we have Connie Mitchell longhand. So I felt as though she could say it better than me. I felt as though the things that she said in here were messages that she needed to give to you all today, particularly in light of what's going on in our community. The last meeting I had with Brother Malcolm was 4 days prior to his death. He was in Rochester to speak at a rally at Cornhill Methodist Church. He talked about the February 14th bombing of his home, his break with Elijah Muhammad, his feelings on youth, his trip to Mecca, and his possible assassination. I feel that those of us who were fortunate to have known Malcolm are indeed blessed. Today, I'm certain that our beautiful, shining Black prince would be appalled at how his memory is kept alive. Sweatshirts, hats, lapel pins worn by those who have no understanding of his legacy and don't want anyone to explain it to him. Would he think it's beautiful to see what has happened to our communities, our families, our youth? Would he be impressed by the atmosphere of mistrust where brothers and sisters' homes have become a fortress against break-ins or shootings, shooting at houses? Would he think it's beautiful to see how our young are killing each other on our streets? Would he think it's beautiful to see the fragmentation of family life and the lack of respect family members have for each other? Would he think it would be beautiful to see our community saturated in drugs poured in from neighborhoods from abroad, brought into our community by unknown sources? Because I do not know of one person in our community that has an airplane or a boat to fly or drop in these drugs. Would he think it was beautiful to see the school dropout rate and see young adults who are not being prepared to face the rapidly changing world of work? No, I don't think he'd condone any of these negatives that plague our community today. I can only guess that he would encourage you as politicians, as citizens, and as people to bring change to a serious and to bring change and to take a serious look at our community and build on the foundation that was laid with sweat, pain, disappointment, and determination by others before you. Happy birthday, Mom. Happy birthday, Malcolm. May you both rest in peace. Had they been alive today, my mother would have been 94 and Malcolm would have turned 97. God bless you all. And next, after me, comes Sabrina Lamar. I asked Sabrina and Lachey to speak today because Lachey held my mother's seat, and Sabrina currently holds my mother's seat on County Ledge. And I remember the night that my mom swore Lachey in. She said, who'd have thought it would take in this city, in this county, 55 years to appoint another black woman.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. First, I would like to start off by thanking those who were instrumental in putting this mural together. I'm not sure who the planning team was for this, but thank you for your contribution. Also, I want to thank the artist. When I came in here today, I sat next to him, and he told me his name a few times, and I still can't pronounce it right. So I won't even say it. But I did tell him that when it's my turn for a mural, I want him to make sure he gets my good side. I would like to thank Dr. Nelms and East High School for even making this building a possibility for this to happen. I represent the West Side, but I grew up over here on the East Side, and I've never seen this building look this good. So I'm happy to see this. I would also like to thank Ms. Constance Mitchell Jefferson for her ear, her time, her consideration, her compassion. One of the first pieces of legislation that I signed when I became a legislator was naming the concourse down at the Monroe County Office Building after her. And ever since then, I've been embodying, so to speak, the spirit and the legacy of Ms. Mitchell. She was really a pillar in our community, and it's unfortunate I didn't get a chance to meet her, but the more that I learned about her, I feel like she's one of my relatives. Today when I came here and I looked up at this mural, I almost cried. Because although blood doesn't run through, the same blood doesn't run through my veins, her legacy, their legacy, is a part of all of our culture, all of our history. And you know, Miss Mitchell, she was a freedom fighter. She came to Rochester back in 1950 and immediately began serving the less fortunate in our community. In 1959, after working in the community for several years and fighting for fair housing, she decided to run unsuccessfully to represent the 3rd Ward on the Monroe County Board of Supervisors, which is equivalent to the Monroe County Legislature. But in 1961, she, along with Maxwell Walters in the 7th Ward, became the first black elected officials in the history of Rochester and Monroe County. Standing before you today, I cannot help but thank Mrs. Mitchell for paving the way for me to become the first black female president of the Monroe County Legislature. She endured death threats, overt racism, and sexism. Her sacrifices made things easier for me and every other Black elected official, male or female, who came after her. She carried herself with class and grace, understanding, like Jackie Robinson, that she was opening doors for those who would come after her. Mrs. Mitchell paved the way for other Black women elected officials in Monroe County, including some of us becoming the first. If it hadn't been for Mrs. Mitchell, we wouldn't have had Ruth Scott, who was the first Black woman on City Council, Lovely Warren, who was the first Black mayor of the city of Rochester, people like Lachey Harris, Loretta Scott, Cynthia Elliott, who was the first Black woman president of the Rochester City School Board, Shirley Thompson, Natalie Shepard, Patrina Freeman, Samara Brooke, the first Black woman senator in Rochester, Robin Wilt, Teresa Johnson, the first Black woman city court judge, Maya Dixon, Caroline Morrison, Melissa Barrett, Nicole Morris, Fatima Reed, the first Black family court female judge, Karen Bailey Turner, the first Black woman county court judge, and of course, me, Sabrina Lamar. Even after leaving the Board of Supervisors, Constance continued to involve herself in community affairs, helping to calm the city after the riots, working with the Montgomery Center, being one of the founders of Action for a Better Community, and helping to identify and develop young Black politicians. So in closing, it's very fitting that on today, May 19th, 2022, as we celebrate the birthday of Malcolm X, that we honor her and another hero of the civil rights movement, Minister Franklin Florence. We owe the three of them a debt we can never repay. And this mural, which depicts an iconic photo of the three of them, taken 5 days before Malcolm X's assassination, will serve as a moment in Rochester's history and a monument to the Black freedom struggle here in Rochester. Thank you. I would like to introduce City Councilwoman Lachey Harris.
Well, President Lamar covered it all, just about. But I do have some remarks, and I'd like to say thank you very much, Dr. Nelms, and thank you very much to the Florence family, and thank you very much to all of you. I'll start off by saying that Malcolm X, I feel like we all know him, but I know that he is no one that we know personally, but we learn all about Malcolm X throughout the history. So I feel like he's a dear uncle to me. And again, what we find is today is his birthday. He would have been 97 years old. Happy birthday, Malcolm X. Minister Florence is a different story for me. I remember growing up as a little girl going to Central Church of Christ with my family, the Greens. And little did I know that all the things in my life, the little pieces, my uncle working at Kodak, going to church, coming home for Sunday dinner with Minister Florence wearing that very overcoat that he always wears, just like you wear the shoes, Clifford. So there's some things that never change. Minister Florence would always come by, and I just always thought of him as the minister that married my mom and dad, as the minister that performed all our family weddings, as the minister that we would come in here on Easter Sunday. I didn't know he was the icon that he is today and then. So that was like, as I become more familiar with our history, our roots here in Rochester, it was very fitting for me to learn more about the civil rights movement and learning more about Malcolm X and Constance Mitchell. So it was just blowing my mind that I had a great relationship with Minister Florence at a very young age, as a child. Fast forward on to political life, learning more about Constance Mitchell. When I ran for office, I started to learn more about her and her walk in the political field. And I met Constance Mitchell Jefferson. And one of the things that I think about is how she stood up when no man would stand up at all to run for office. They were seeking out people to run because the Republican parties
They had a strong hold on the city. And all the black people that worked in the city were afraid to stand up because they had jobs, and the jobs were held by Republican folks. So I'm going to quote Constance Mitchell, what she said. She stated, primarily, men were concerned about their jobs because Rochester was a Republican city, and they were looking for Democrats. And they knew men weren't going to jeopardize their jobs because there was a lot of intimidation during that time. I mean, I can tell you, you know a long story about what I went through in just being a Democrat. She never mentioned about her being a female, but she said just being a Democrat. Think about that. So I'm just going to say today, thank you, Constance Mitchell, for standing up and being brave. Thank you, Minister Florence, for standing up and being brave. And of course, Malcolm X paid the ultimate price for all of this, for all of us. So thank you. So it is fitting that this mural is on a school wall so students can see it and learn and carry on the fight. Dr. Nell.
Thank you so much. Before I introduce Erica, I just want to, if you glance to my left, your right, and you look a little bit below the, that awning, you'll see a picture of eyes of Constance Mitchell. And I think it's more than ironic that she's looking on us in this day. So that's what I've been staring at the entire time. I will also want to take the time to acknowledge the East staff who's here. They're in the back left trying to be quiet, but they are the ones who continue to keep our children and our families at the center of all of our decision making. So I wanted to acknowledge them. I also want to acknowledge our culinary department who made the cupcakes. So I hope you enjoy those as well. Yeah, you can have two, okay? She can say, yeah, you can have two. Have as many as you want. All right. So let me tell you about Erica. So I got a cold call from Erica about, a year ago, a year and a half ago? And she said, we want to do a mural at East. And I said, all right. I knew Erica from the news and from the community. And I said, so what are you thinking? I'm thinking small little panel. She said, I want the biggest wall at East. And I said, all right. I said, well, where are you thinking? There was a space over there I was thinking about. She goes, no, I want that space right there. And I walked out and looked at it, and I said, that's going to be a big mural. And then we talked about the significance of it. And she made me better understand its significance by the three people that were being honored. In Cleonda's talk, she talked about our responsibility to be ambassadors of this work. And I can't think of anyone in Rochester who was a greater ambassador for this project than Erica. So Erica, I thank you for your persistence, capital P. I thank you for your constant communication, capital C. But more importantly, I really do thank you for your advocacy. And this would not have been done without you. I know she won't mention this, nor will Ephraim, but this mural was completed before it was fully funded. And it's not fully funded yet. So I'm going to say what they're not going to say. And that is, if you or a neighbor or a friend or an organization would like to contribute to finish this mural, please contact Eric and Ephraim. I think it's extremely important that we honor not only his artistry, but his hard work. And there's no other way to do that, or better way to do that, than helping to fund this important piece of art. So, Erica?
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to read off this very, very long list of thank yous, because this truly was a community project, and I hope that you will bear with me. And you thanked me, but I'm going to pass that credit completely along to my parents. They had an African-American bingo game, and Malcolm X was on one of the squares, and I used to have to sort the cards on the weekends, and I would have rather been doing something else, but doing that, they, through that effort and also just in life, instilled in me the idea, number one, that black people can do anything that we want to do even no matter what obstacles are placed in front of us. And number two, that we have to honor our ancestors and remember them and to lean on our strength. And so, my mother is here, so all credit I will pass to her. And my father, unfortunately, passed away in the middle of the fundraising, but I think that he would appreciate this effort because Malcolm X was square, I think it was like G37 or something in his game. So on to the thank yous. Of course, we thank the towering figures who are pictured on the wall for their struggles and unwavering willingness to fight for a world in which Black people have the opportunity to use our talents and gifts. We have to thank Michael Huntone, and I do not know if he is here, but he is the one who came up with the idea. He tweeted that we should have a mural of this picture, which is from 1965. And so Quajade Donnell put the tweet on Facebook, and that's how Ephraim and I heard about it, and that's how it all got started. So whatever bad things you say about social media, it does lead to some great stuff. So I want to say thank you, of course, to the family members of the honored figures who have been completely supportive of the mural idea and our fundraising efforts. Thank you to East Superintendent Sean Nelms for unyielding support and helping us navigate many hoops and hurdles. And, it's not easy to get something like this done on a historic building. And he cheerfully responded to the 15 trillion messages that I sent to him in the logistics. So really, thank you very much for that. And I have to say thank you to all of the people who made this financially possible. And there are many, many, many donors. More than 265 people made individual contributions to this. People came to our fundraisers, our cocktail parties, our party over many, many different fundraisers. I have to thank Jane Strasabasco, who's a true friend of the arts, who helped me because I didn't know anything about fundraising when I started this, but we got it almost done. We want to thank the City of Rochester. Huge thanks to the City of Rochester for the major grant that really helped us do this, and the Rochester Area Community Foundation, which gave us an Arts Prevail grant. The Rock City Freedom Riders, which is an amazing bicycle group that raised a substantial amount of money on one of their rides. I think it was the Juneteenth ride. I want to say thank you to Spiritus Christi Church, who gave us their tithing money for 2021. Thank you to Michelle Daniels and the Daniels Family Foundation, who supported the mural with a large check. And I want to say thank you to Nick Love, who is a donor and also helped record the speech that we are going to listen to at 4 o'clock. So I hope that you will stick around after the official remarks are done, and then we're going to have some educational opportunities. And last but not least, we have to offer just enormous, unspeakable thanks to the man that I am honored to introduce next, who is not only a masterful artist with murals around the world, but also such a very, very nice person, like good-hearted person. And I have watched him take the time to stop and talk to people as he was painting and explain to him the significance of the figures on the wall. And he could be anywhere on earth painting murals, but he keeps coming home to Rochester to honor civil rights leaders. And I truly feel that there's almost a spiritual quality to the work that he does, because John Lewis was watching over us when there were the marches for the death of George Floyd and police brutality. And now, in the wake of what happened in Buffalo, we have these larger-than-life figures to remind us, give us strength, and remind us that we have them to lean on as we try to go forward and advance the values that they fought for. So, without further ado, here to talk about his most beautiful work, the artist Ephraim Gabray.
Hey, I don't want to get emotional, so I'm going to keep it brief and start off with some gratitude. I want to start by sharing some gratitude to all the donors and all the amazing supporters. It's really shocked me as a young man how much love and support I've gotten over the last couple years since returning to Rochester to paint some murals. People like Frank and Lisa Mancini, people like Richard Glazer, people like Sean Dunwoody, Quajay, is always out here snapping photos for the last 2 years. Videographer Max, and just the countless people that come in and check on me, while I'm painting. Because it's been a long process, you know what I mean? And it's a real treat for me because I never learned about these people in school. I never learned about John Lewis until we came here to paint the mural, and I never learned about these amazing figures. So I think that's the problem. So it's been an intimate journey for me to get to know these figures as I'm painting them. So I kind of have gained a sort of a connection to these figures, and I intend to keep on making these monuments and creating safe spaces to have these type of healing, constructive conversations. Yeah, so that's what this project's been about. Basically is sharing these hidden stories because that's where we find our individual strength and our ideas of what's possible, and our collective strength as well. It's from the accomplishments and indomitable spirits of the people that are above us right now. So I just want to say another thank you to everybody that's coming out, all you beautiful faces. It's a true honor to be here, and I hope to be back here again. I got a long road, another 50 years or so. So let's paint all these walls, all right?
Well, now it's actually 4 o'clock. I didn't realize it was going to, I thought we were going to have time to eat the cakes and things, but I think that if we could, actually, could I invite Jamila Edwards up to the podium? I can't see where she is. Okay. So this is also Malcolm X, the first ever Malcolm X weekend. And so to tell you about clap. And so to tell you about the upcoming events is the founder of Mission Hope and Friends of Malcolm committee members, Jamila Edwards.
Peace, love, and light to all the organizers, staff, the family, as well as community members who are here with us today. I want to thank Erica for allowing me the space to share this extraordinary, first of its kind in Rochester, 3-day event. This event was created for such a time as this. Without us knowing that a mural was being painted, we were planning. The Friends of Malcolm are a coalition of community organizations that have come together to build knowledge and promote community wellness in the city of Rochester. Today, we will be at the Frederick Douglass Initiative Family Foundation at 130 East Main Street from 5 to 9 p.m. with scholarly presentations and fellowship. Tomorrow, we will honor our dear brother, Elder Hanif, with the 2022 Malcolm X Award. You can join us from 6 to 9:30. I would like to thank everybody again for this opportunity. I encourage everyone to attend as we are all friends of Malcolm. And may the legacy live in our hearts to help a community heal. Thank you. Okay, so they want me to just tell you really quick. So tomorrow, Saturday, we have an event from 3 to 11 p.m. It is the Family Festival. It will be held at Aberdeen Square Park, as well as we have the Artistic Explosion that will happen tomorrow at RCTV from 6 to 9:30. That's Saturday. Tomorrow we have 2 events. If you need a flyer, I have one for you. Today we have an event as well. Thank you.
Come on up. All right, so we're going to take it to church. It's past the collection time. No, I joke. I said earlier that there is an opportunity to help fund this project, but I did not tell you how. Since the media is still here, they can put it in their newscast tonight. There's one way to do it is by Venmoing to Open Air Gallery. That's one way. And the second way...
The GoFundMe. We have a GoFundMe, but it's kind of a long name, so I don't know if I can... We'll get it to them. But the Open Air Gallery on Venmo
is pretty
Oh,
good.
but it's on the, sorry, the information is on the table over there.
That's right.
Okay.
All right.
All right, so can I introduce Nick?
Yep.
Thanks. All right, so now what we'll do, since the time has gotten a little bit crunched, is that we can eat the cake while the speech is playing. So I'd like to introduce Nick Love, please, to come up. Nick? And so now Nick actually tape recorded the speech, and it was 57 years ago at Cornhill Methodist Church and the main tape recorder was an East High School teacher that he'll tell you about.
Hi. When Erica asked me to do this, told me about the mural, I was interested from two sides. One was to be able to tell people, give people more a chance to listen to the speech. The other is because I'm an East High School graduate. Okay, so, and there's something I want to tell you about this recording. Is I listened to several pieces, snippets of Malcolm X recordings on YouTube. This is a complete speech. It's the whole thing. You'll hear a small spot in it where there's a break, and that's because it was made from a professional recording and it was transferred onto those little cassette tapes that people used to have. And the tapes are only half an hour on a side. So when he got to half an hour, my friend Wilbur Gerst had to turn the recording off, turn the cassette over, and play the rest of it on the other side. So I got to ask Malik if he'll check and see if that's on his recording, that little break in there, because it is a full recording, and that way I can tell that his is actually a copy from Wilbur Gerst as well. And I want to tell you just a few minutes about my friend Wilbur Gerst, who actually made the recording. I was his helper, okay? Wilbur and I met at our church. We were representatives from our church to Franklin Florence's fight convention. And just as an aside, I remember when Franklin Florence's introduction speech was over and he asked for questions, I was a young guy, I raised my hand, and I asked him, and I apologize to Erica for this, I asked him, should I cancel my DNC subscription? And he said, his reply was, no, we have to keep watch on what the enemy is doing. Okay, this 1964, okay. So Wilbur and I were jazz fans, and we had good quality recorders, and we used to record jazz programs off the radio. And Wilbur came to me and said he wanted to tape Malcolm X and asked if I would help him. And so we took his recorder and we went on the 16th of February to Cornhill Methodist Church and set up in the fourth row of pews and set our microphones up. And my job was to make sure nobody pulled the extension cord out of the wall and everything, because Wilbur had to sit. We had the recorder right between us, and he had to keep his eye on the recording meters on the recorder to make sure he was getting the volumes correctly. And so we recorded it that way. And 5 days later, before Wilbur had even made copies of the recording, Malcolm X was assassinated. So I wondered, and I asked him what was taking so long to make the copies, and it turns out he had put an introduction on the tape because of the assassination. He'd put a little introduction as to what you were listening to. Anyway, I hope you will listen, if you can, to to the whole tape because it is, as far as I know, the best recording that fully gives his message. And thank you for inviting me today.
So thank you to everyone for coming out. We really, really appreciate you. And I ask that everybody please take a cupcake. The East High School students made them. And we'll start the speech as soon as we can get the audio going.